I'm going to walk you through how I dial in the global settings on the Line 6 Pod Go. Let's take a look. All right, let's go into global settings, and I'm just going to give you a quick run through. I'm not going to go through every little one in detail. I'm just going to show you how I kind of have mine set up. All right, and we'll touch on stuff, and there'll be future videos maybe exploring in more depth some of these other features. But to get to global settings, hit the 2 page buttons and then hit global settings. All right, so let's go ins and outs. Okay, the guitar pad on. I usually leave it on, and it's basically I'll play my guitar here. It's just like if you have hot pickups, you can put it on so you're not killing the volume of your input. So I'll turn it off and you'll hear. So it quiets it down, right? So just plug your guitar in, determine if you need it. Some people say, I just leave it on all the time. It's up to you. It's not a bad thing. Okay, main out level. So the main outs are on the back. Now I have here, I don't know if you can see if it's in the camera shot, but I'm using the left main out and going into my interface, which goes into my computer. So you want it set to line. Okay, if you were going into an amplifier, if you're using the main out, you can have it set to instrument. Okay, amp out source. I have it main out. Main out, it basically means you're gonna all your signal blocks are going to go into your amp. Okay, because they're all going to go, all the signal blocks are going to go to the main out. So then all your effects blocks in your chain are going to go to your amp. You can switch that though if you just want certain effects, anything before the cabinet. If you just want that going into your amp, because your amp, that is your amp in your cabinet, then you can switch to pre-cab IR. The problem I have with this is, I'd say about 99% of the time, your amp block is going to be before your cabinet IR block. So that means your amp block is still going into your real amplifier. If you dial a sound that's going to work with your real amplifier in this manner, fantastic. My presets, if I was going to pop them into an amplifier, it's going to sound like garbage because it's only going to eliminate the cab and not the amp. I wish Line 6 would fix that and make it at least allow that your all your effects before your amp head and your cabinet could just go to your real amplifier. Anyways, that's what that does. Okay, effects loop line. You're gonna want that, I guess, for maybe more like, let's say if you have a rack stuff, digital stuff. If you're putting like an analog stomp box though into the effects loop, switch it to instrument. Okay, because different signal levels. Return I don't touch. Okay, but let's see what it says. Auxiliary in. That's your return back here. Basically, if you switch it to auxiliary in, the return input here is like you could input an MP3 player to jam along to or something like that. Okay. So next page, USB trim. That's, I guess, controlling the level of. Let's say you're jamming along to YouTube or something. Like it's to even out the signals. Okay. Volume knob. You can have it set to main, just the main out, or this can just control amp out. I just leave it to both. Okay, preference. I don't touch anything here with the tempo, pitch. Snapshots I don't use, but this recall discard is basically if you make a change during your snapshot and you switch to another one, if you leave it on recall, that change you made to the previous snapshot will still be there. If you have it on discard, it'll just be discarded. The change that you made in snapshot will be gone if you jump from it and go back to it. So I just leave it to recall. I don't use snapshots anyways, really. This I would use link amp cab on. So basically, if you turn it off, that means like when you pick a new amp, the Pod Go will not assign the matching cab. If you want the matching cab as the default assigned cab for each amp you pick, just leave it on. Not a big deal. I just have it left on, and then I'm always changing cabinets. It doesn't really matter to me. So, sorry, I want to go to switches and pedals. Okay, so switches and pedals. I leave the stomp block selector on, and I'm just trying to remember what that does. Well, the manual says it determines whether pressing a stomp mode foot switch automatically selects the assigned block for editing. I leave it on. It hasn't caused me any chaos when I'm creating my presets. This is a foot switch auto assignment. So basically, I leave it off because if I leave it on, when I put a block or an effect in my signal chain, the Podgo is going to tell me it's going to automatically assign which foot switch. Maybe I don't want that. I like to assign, I know my foot switches in a certain order. So I just leave it off so I don't have to change anything. This is a good one. Stomp mode, 6 switches. So when I'm in stomp mode, I use all 6 switches. But let's say you don't need to. So you could switch it to 4. And then you'll have these 4 switches for, oops, sorry guys. You'll have these 4 switches for selecting whatever you need to in your preset. And then these 2 will just be your bank or up and down, or your preset up and down, or snapshot up and down. So these won't be, you won't be assigning blocks to them, but you can cycle through your presets using this, and you won't have to have an external switch. Okay, but I like to have 6 switches. Snapshot mode, again, I don't really use it much, haven't used it in a while. I just leave this to toggle, hasn't caused me any problems. Now this, up-down switches. So these are up-down switches. I have it set to bank, so I'm going to go to the view here. So you see banks here, so these switches will switch my banks just like that, okay? Now, you can switch them, if we go to global settings, let's see, presets. So now it says preset, so now it's going to go preset up and down this way. Okay, instead of me using these buttons to switch through presets, it's just going to use these ones. So now back to global settings, and let's go to snapshots. I don't have snapshots, but this you'll see here, if up and down, it's going to cycle through your snapshots. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to go back and I'm going to put this, I leave it at banks. That's how I like to have it. All right, next page. So expression 2, foot switch 7 or 8. So this is basically the port on the back here that says FS78 expression 2. You're telling the Podgo what you want that port to be. Do you want it to be for a dual foot switch or single foot switch, or do you want it to be for a secondary expression pedal? Okay, so now if you have, let's say in my example here, I have it set for a dual foot switch. This next one, FS78 function. Now you're telling the Podgo how you want that foot switch to act. I want it to act as extra stomp switches. So instead of 6 in stomp mode, I'm going to have 8. All right. But if I don't want that, I can say I want that dual foot switch to be my up and down switcher for my banks. Or again, I want to switch between presets using that external dual foot switch. Okay. So that's what that is. To be honest, guys, expression 1, expression 2, I don't look into this. I mean, there's normal or inverted for the polarity. This you might need because if the TRS, the tip ring sleeve cable, you might need to switch one of these to make it work, okay? But again, I don't use anything external, so I just leave it at default. If you're not using anything external, you can leave it. And the same thing with this expression 1 position, I leave it global. Same with expression 2. I don't touch the switch LEDs. You can have it dim, lit, or off, I guess. And then the tap delay, I guess, determines how the tempo is displayed. LED flashes the red tap LED. Tempo panel, let's go back to that. So we can have it off. Okay, so tempo panel opens the tempo panel when stepping on tap while in edit view. And LED, so I just leave it. Okay, so it's that maybe it's an annoying flashing light to you and you don't need it. Like maybe you're only using it for the tuner. Maybe you just want to turn it off, or you however you want it set. But that's basically, that is my setup, and I'm not even going to go here to MIDI. I don't use MIDI, guys, so I couldn't even tell you. But this looks like, for assigning some kind of some MIDI controllers, and maybe you would assign certain presets here, is my understanding. But again, I don't use MIDI. Well, that is basically the simple, quick walkthrough of I guess it's my way. I want to say it's a good way to set up your Podgo. It's my way that I set it up, and it works for me and does what I need it to do. All right, guys. So thanks for watching. Feel free to hit the like button. I'll give you my thumbs up there. Drop a comment. Feel free to subscribe and check out this video.